Hey guys, it's Tom Bucks. Thanks for tuning into MST.TV, and I've got a budget deck profile for you guys today. It's going to be triple structure deck of Rokket Revolt. Now, since we're only using cards from Rokket Revolt, don't be expecting any guard dragons, don't be expecting any Brotar play, don't be expecting some of the massive dragon package that we are also used to. So in other words, we have to redefine how we actually play this deck, and I think Borel Furious Dragon would be your main disruptor play against your opponent, and if you can focus your deck around Borel Furious Dragon, you can kind of create a budget variant. Now, just a disclaimer here, of course, if you try to compete it against like any of the guard dragon variants, the guard dragon variant is definitely like just objectively superior. But that goes without saying, you can still play this deck regardless because there is a really strong engine in here thanks to Rokket Tracer. This card is just single-handedly one of the best cards for Rokket, and because of its quick effect, you can really just abuse it mid-chain to kind of get free monsters out of your spells, out of your other monsters. But anyways, if you guys are going to enjoy this profile, hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe, ding notification bell to stay up to date with the latest and greatest of MST.TV. So let's just jump into this profile. Alright, to look into this budget variant of triple structure decks, we're starting off with triple Rokket Tracer. This is probably the best card in the entire deck because it adds a lot of consistency. It lets you basically search out any Rokket monster in your deck and summon it to the field by destroying one of your face-up cards. It's a quick effect, so if you play a spell, you can chain it to the spell, destroy the spell, and get yourself another monster. So it's like kind of acting in between effects where it can convert your other cards basically for free. So that's why this card is really amazing, and since it's a quick effect, you can use it during your opponent's turn to dodge effects as well, just to maintain your pluses, maintain field advantage, maintain field presence. Then if that's the bread, this is the butter. We have Untitled Dragon. You have to play 3 copies of it in this particular build because you want to see it as soon as you can. Without this card, I think you're a lot slower and you're not maintaining your hand size. So Untitled Dragon absolutely must play because free summon if you have a Rokket monster, so summons out from your hand for free. That is not an effect, it's just a summoning condition, and you can only special summon this card once per turn this way. If this card is sent to the graveyard by any means, from deck, from hand, from the field, as cost, whatever, you will be able to search yourself another Rokket monster from the deck, of course once per turn only, and you can use it to search out like Rokket Synchron to revive this card and then get more searches on a turn later on. So these two basically controls all the consistency in the entire deck, makes the most of it anyway. Now in terms of tech wise, I'm playing Background Dragon, playing 2 copies of it. Like, why not play 3? Well, I don't really want to see this card in particular. I don't mind discarding this card into the graveyard because if I can discard it, it's fine. I do main Twin Twister, so that's why it's okay. And this is a budget variant, guys. But looking into Background Dragon, if it's in the graveyard, you control no cards. You get to not banish, but you get to like activate this card, summon out this card, and another level 4 or lower dragon from your hand, and when you do that, you basically get to summon out the Rokket Tracer out of your hand for free and get another dragon for you to pop, which is pretty decent. Or you can just use this card as a link material. So that is why I'm running this card, because it does not use up your normal summon, and the normal summon is actually very precious in this particular deck. If you waste it, you're not going to have the material to maintain. And the whole goal of this deck is that you want to maintain 2 Rokket monsters on the field basically the entire time, because you want to be able to fuse during your opponent's turn to disrupt them. The fusion is very key if you're going to be playing budget for this particular build. Then we have double Rokket Recharger. In fact, the rest of this is just the Rokket lineup. Rokket Recharges, I usually pair this with the Fusion monster because the Fusion monster is a monster summoned out from the extra deck that is a dark monster, and if that dark monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to send this card to the graveyard. You get to special summon out another card out of the graveyard rather than the one that was destroyed. And yeah, that really works out for you, really, because the Borel Furious Dragon also has a graveyard effect to summon out more cards as well. So that's really what it is used for. Otherwise, you can also use it as an initial starter combo with your Quad Borel Dragon. I believe it's called Quad. Let me just quick check on the name. Yeah, Quad Borel Dragon, because Quad Borel Dragon can pop itself and summon more cards, and then you can use Rokket Recharger to actually just summon another monster on top of that, but leaving you with 3 monsters instead. So that is just a possibility. I don't know if I enjoy that tech very much, but it's just another angle you can try. As for the rest of it, I'm running 2 Magna Rockets. It is an 18 beat stick. Perhaps you can play 3 copies of this, but I'm just trying to keep up the variety to 2 Auto Rockets. This one, if you target it with a link monster, you could do self-destruct it, and if you use the self-destruct effect, you can also send a monster to the graveyard. I believe it's non-targeting and it's non-destructive as well, so that's really nice. And then auto rocket is like a self-destructive effect where it can send a spell or trap on the field to the graveyard, so it's also non-targeting. And finally, as for our last new introduction of that type of monster, we have Silver Rocket, which came out in this structure deck. This one is the card you want to use against combo decks, especially if they have like a very key piece in their deck that you want to get rid of. You can use it to get rid of a Guard Dragon LP, because if you target this card face up on the field with a link monster, you can destroy this card, look at your opponent's extra deck, and then just send one card to the graveyard. Sorry, let me correct myself, not send one card to the graveyard, you get to banish one card. In other words, you can get rid of their Guard Dragon LP. That kind of ruins their whole Guard Dragon play because they don't get that free summon of anything. This card is, I think, one of the things you want to trigger off as soon as you can, especially against combo decks. You can use this to take out the Kagari out of the Sky Striker deck. Yeah, or you can even take out the Crusadia Magius out of their deck as well. So it's quite brutal if you manage to successfully get this off. How do you do it with this particular variant? You go into a Booster Dragon and then you target this card. That's right, that is a possibility, yes. Anyways, moving on. That's also a 19 beat stick, let's not forget that. And we have Rocket Synchron, just so that you can revive your high level dragons. And finally, going into the fusions, of course you want to leave 2 rocket monsters on the field, and then you try to play the way out of it. You have to play triple Rapid Trigger. You want to see this card as soon as you can. You want to be able to like set it on the back row and use it to disrupt your opponent. Remember that you cannot attack your opponent directly with this card, because you can only attack monster summon out of the extra deck, which is why Borel Furious Dragon will eventually pop himself, but it's okay. He was meant to pop himself anyway, because of the fact that if you pop himself, he has a graveyard effect to revive other monsters, so that's fine too. We'll look into this effect when we come to that card, but that's why this is amazing. Aside from that, Rapid Trigger also destroys the monster, so if you have 2 rocket monsters on the field when you destroy them, I'm not talking about like Rocket Tracer, but I'm talking more like Silver Rocket, Auto Rocket, Magna Rocket. If you have those rocket monsters on the field and you pop them during the end phase, you can get yourself the Rocket Tracer. You can basically get everything that you really need to continue to go off, which is why Rapid Trigger sets up the board, disrupts your opponent, and you're ready to just go off again. That's why it's really scary, to be honest. It's actually like very interesting. And now we have, of course, our E-Telly of the deck, Quick Launch. It's just a free summon of a rocket monster out of the deck. I think there's nothing else that you need to say. Remember, you can't attack with the card though, just so that you don't like try to game your opponent with that. You have Squib Draw. I don't really see this card very often, but normally I want to pair this with Rocket Tracer. So if I have a rocket monster on the field and a Rocket Tracer, I use Squib Draw, and I'm gonna be like Squib Draw, target the other monster, and then I would be Rocket Tracer. Pop the Squib Draw, this gets popped, summon a new monster, and I get to draw 2 cards, so that's what it's really there for. It's also a quick effect, so you can use that to protect your monster. If your opponent's going to be using effects against you, you can just chain it and then just, I guess, get rid of their effect while maintaining some level of card advantage. And because I need Foolish Burial in the deck, I'm playing Triple Dragon Shrine. Yeah, it's just free Foolish. You can throw the Absolute Dragon to the graveyard, or Background Dragon. At least those are my main 2 targets for now. As for our Premature Burials, we have Borel Regenerator. Typically, you want to pop the monster with Rocket Tracer, so that you get the draw card with the Borel Regenerator as well. So free monster, free draw. It's decent. I'm playing 1 copy of Boot Sector. I have to think about what right now, I think I might swap it for a different card, but it did prove to be useful when your opponent goes first and you have a handful of rockets and you can just go off. Or your opponent just sets up a board and then you just play it and summon stuff from the graveyard. It's decent, and the attack boost is relevant because your monsters aren't exactly too small. They're like the 18, 17, 19 range. Boosting it by 300 does push it over 2k. Okay, and now I have Double Twin Twister, so I don't lose to Mystic Mine. And even if your opponent tries to Mystic Mine you, if you have your whole Borel load all set up and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go destroy you, as long as you have an auto rocket, you just chain your Borel load to their Mystic Mine and then trigger your auto rocket. Just chain it, pop the Mystic Mine, and then you're still good to go. But if that's not the case, you still have Twin Twisters. You can throw stuff into the graveyard, preferably the background dragon. And finally, for traps, triple red reboot. If you activate red reboot, you should take a different route into play because they're going to set another trap. And if they set another trap, it's okay. You can definitely play your other boss monsters because this deck is actually full of boss monsters. And moving on, last 2 cards, double Mirror Force, because this deck comes with Mirror Force. It's Revolver's deck, guys. One of his most iconic card is playing Mirror Force, and we're gonna go into the extra deck. Okay, starting things off, we have triple Borel Furious Dragon. This is your main interaction monster with your opponent. You can't really attack your opponent because we can't attack directly if you use the fusion the way that we fuse it for. But remember, it does have a graveyard effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target a Dark Link monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot activate its effect this turn. But if you're using it just as like material to like link up, that's fine. Then we have Booster Dragon. This one is a bit harder to summon, requires 2 rocket monsters, so you cannot use Background Dragon, you cannot use our Auto Router Dragon. So that is a limitation, but it does let you pop off some of your rocket monsters to get their send effects off to your opponent. Then we have Quad Borel Dragon. I think I'm playing 3 copies for now. Remember, it can pop itself, but you can also pop your opponent's card. Preferably, you want to use this to pop your opponent's Link monster so that you can get like a bunch of free summons. But aside from that, it does require a discard cost, so just be very careful when you use this one. It only summons out rocket monsters with different names from your hand and graveyard, so just keep that in mind. Oh, and if you actually do summon out cards, you can't summon out Link 2 or lower monsters anymore. So it puts you on a pretty tight restriction if you're trying to use it to just balance out your combo. So usually you have to find some way to go into a boss monster if you do use Quad Borel. And then there's Triple Burst Dragon because it's a very good Link 3. And it's typically using the Guard Dragon combo anyway, if you guys aren't familiar with it. Of course, if anything activates during the damage step, you get to negate the activation, which is very, very nice. If it pierces, of course, and you contribute this card to target a Link 2 or lower monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So yes, remember, it does have a second effect. And one of our other boss monsters, we have Borel Dragon that comes in common. I know you guys have been waiting for this card for some time now. And, okay. This is the structured deck main boss monsters. The cover card is Topologic 0 Boros. If you summon into the middle zone and your opponent relies on the extra monsters, let's just say they're going to be suffering for quite some time. You can't use this to create an extra link, I think. I'm not sure if it's a restriction. What if you just negate the effect and just create a U-board this way? I don't know, seems like a possibility. But, okay, looking into this particular monster, if you summon to the middle zone, it does lock you out from summoning to any extra monster zone that it points to. It's mainly there to prevent you from doing the U board, okay? It's not even a U board, it's the V board. Remember, extra link only requires everything to be co-linked, so, you know, technically a V could be co-linked, but most of those cards have a restriction that point to double corner. You can't really do it. But anyways, yeah, this card, if you summon into, or sorry, if your opponent summons into a Link monster zone that's pointed to, you've just banished all cards on the field, and this card revives itself during the next standby phase. So it's really brutal, and once you revive himself, just put him in the middle zone so your opponent really can't really use the extra monster zones either, because their cards are going to constantly get banished, and it banishes all cards on the field, including back row, all the other monsters, and it's really ridiculous. Which is why when you use red reboot against your opponent, you should try to go for 0 Boros and get that full board wipe. They'll put it on the trap, they're like, haha, I got another solemn card against you, and you'll be like, well, I'm just gonna go 0 Boros and wipe your entire board, and my monster comes back and you're really down, like, down cards now, and it really, really sucks for them. But well, it sucks for them, but not you, because you're the one that actually triggered it off. That is all I got for this particular budget profile. I hope really you guys enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed the budget variant, of course, I'm going to go into more competitive variants with this deck very soon, so stay tuned for that. Until next time, don't forget to hit the like, hit subscribe, ding notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, ciao, guys.